Monday begins the end of money bond across the entire state of Illinois. What exactly does that mean for the local sheriff's office? They're the ones who maintain the local jail, and they've got a host of issues already they're contending with, let alone having to deal with the end of cash bail and what that means. So to talk more about that, joining me in studio is Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell. Jack, thanks for taking time with us. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Of course, this was challenged by state's attorneys across the state. It was postponed from a start date of January 1st to now Mondays, when the Illinois Supreme Court said we're going to go ahead and implement this. What have you guys been doing to prepare for it?
You know, again, besides going through the act line by line, we've been meeting with the Sangamon County chiefs, meeting with our state's attorney and the public defender, the courts. Of course, clearly the Springfield Police Department is the number one, arrester of people in Springfield. So it goes to show you how difficult this is, because we've had to have so many meetings and there's still so many unanswered questions.
So when it comes to, obviously, the act itself, there's certain offenses that are going to be considered detainable. Those are more of the felonious offenses, those with, crimes and violence against individuals or threats against individuals. But when it comes to, like, the lower level, I mean, you guys are still going to have to be processing these guys.
Right. So the Class B and C misdemeanors, the trespass kept coming up, would be like probably the number one Class B misdemeanor we deal with. We're going to give a notice to appear on the street. As long as the suspect, as long as they comply with the order to leave, and as long as they have identification on them, then we can just cite them on the spot. But we will continue to bring the Class A misdemeanors and higher to the jail, even if they're non-detainable at the jail. They're technically detainable on the street. So there's a couple of different definitions of detain, but we will photograph and fingerprint them, bring them down to the jail, and then give them their notice to appear from the jail, where they'll be released there.
So the costs associated with this, we heard Don Tracy, the chairman of the Republican Party, he conveyed, a state's attorney from up north, talking about how it's going to cost like $60 million they're anticipating. I would imagine this is everything from needing more personnel for prosecutors to investigate within that 48-hour window to, tell a judge, hey, we need to hold this guy, to the cost for sheriffs. To go out and serve these notices to appear or go after people who don't.
Correct. And so I heard that number from Don, and I don't know how many years that they're planning out there with that $60 million. So initially it's about $1 million for Sangamon County, and $500,000 was body-worn cameras for our office. So again, that was the biggest chunk of it, the initial investment. And then I know Dan Wright had proposed more personnel for his office. We actually hired one more for managing body-worn camera footage in the sheriff's office. So initially about $1 million up front. And the body-worn camera thing is a good thing. That was one thing that we supported. We think it's a good thing for the public and for everybody involved in the criminal justice system. But it was unfunded. I know some grants came out after we'd already purchased ours, so we're looking into now whether we can go back and get reimbursement. But again, just another unfunded mandate.
And the safety concerns here, are there concerns for sheriff's deputies who may have to go and issue these citations or have to go track down somebody who failed to appear?
Well, we're working out now that summons has to be served initially, and we're working out now. We believe we're going to be able to send those out by mail, and not even certified mail, just by mail initially. We think it also is going to lead to more warrants down the road when people continue not to appear in court. But to your point, the number one concern I have, Greg, is safety here in Sangamon County. I'm concerned that we are now going to have offenders and sometimes violent offenders out on the street where what they do for a living is commit crimes. I did a study in August of 2022, and we chose a random 20 inmates out of the jail, and the average number of arrests was 26 for those just random 20 inmates, the average number. And 3 of those had 1 arrest. So that shows you the skew here, what it could have been had we not had those included. So what that means is they don't get up and go to work in the morning, they go commit more crimes. And we are going to track as close as we can the rise in our crime rates, and then we're going to try to track individual offenders, the people that we would believe would have been either detained or forced to post a pretty large cash bond. If they go out and commit another crime, we're going to try to track that also.
Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell with us in studio here on WMAY, talking about the beginning of the end of cash bail here in Illinois and the impacts on the sheriff's offices. And I would imagine as well when it comes to those who fail to appear, Yeah, they're going to be rearrested at some point if they don't answer to summonses and whatnot. What's that mean for the jail population right now?
So probably just like the Bail Reform Act back several years ago, that initially we'll have a slight reduction. I don't know how much it will be exactly. I know that the people currently in custody are going to have to ask to have their cases reviewed. We will not be releasing anybody on day one. But it is problematic that we're concerned about this. And let me also add that I'm also very concerned. Law enforcement officers, we're having, it's a calling for us. And when you take away their ability to protect our community, this is what most of us started doing this for, not to get rich, but because we cared about safety in our community and we wanted to stand for something. When you take that away from officers on the street, when you take that away from correctional officers that are used to housing these individuals and keeping them off the street, you begin to kill the police spirit. And I'm very concerned about that, is to keep the morale of our people up and remind them to go out and do their job every day. And hopefully, politically, we can get this taken care of down the road. I really think that whenever I think the legislature sees a rise in the crime rates in Illinois, that maybe they'll go back and maybe repeal it, maybe work on reform that needs to happen.
Jack Campbell with us, Sheriff Sangamon County. Something else, too, you guys are contending with right now before the beginning of the end of cash bail. You've been dealing with this for years, and that's those who are considered unfit inmates facing trial. But, do they have the mental capacity to face a trial? You guys are housing these inmates and been in courts challenging the Department of Human Services. And where are we at in that whole process?
So if you recall, I sued DHS and the governor because they continue to violate the law that required them to identify a mental health facility that these unfit inmates should be transferred to within 20 days. Now, for decades, literally for decades, they have been going beyond that, but we had learned to deal with it, and it wasn't an extreme number. So when I sued them and won, they changed the law. They didn't fix the problem. They changed the law, and they left these inmates to continue to deteriorate in these county jails across the whole state. I just checked, and since January 1st of this year, we've had 26 inmates that have been here beyond the new 60-day standard, and those days total over 1,300 days when you add them all up. And so again, we were left with no choice. I put out a press release. I want the public to know what's happening down there, because the inmates are the ones that are suffering. The court has declared them unfit for trial. They need help. We provide them mental health treatment, but they also take up an inordinate amount of time of the limited time of mental health treatment we have. I've got about 300 inmates in the jail, and about 100 of those have some serious mental health problems that we need to address.
So how do we move forward from here? I mean, is it you got this law that was changed? Is there anything further you guys can do other than expend the resources to take care of these individuals?
I'm going to continue to draw attention to this, and maybe I can get some action at the State House by the people that changed the law. Maybe they'll understand that these inmates, again, need that help. I would think some community groups, maybe the ACLU, somebody would step up and say, this is wrong. These inmates need the help. And the sheriffs only have so many resources. And again, we do our best with them, but we're limited on what we can do. And they continue to suffer in these county jails.
Sheriff Jack Campbell, what else are you guys contending with? I mean,
is there anything else I need to contend with?
Well, I guess one last thing. The Illinois Supreme Court didn't just uphold the Safety Act; they upheld the state's firearms ban and the magazine ban and whatnot. Sheriffs across the state said that they wouldn't enforce this. It's still pending in front of the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, but it is the law of the land right now.
Right, and I know that 95 out of 102 sheriffs had all kind of said the same thing, and I think we were very reluctant about this. We don't like to step into that political arena of saying, well, we don't like this law, so we're not going to enforce it. We've never done that. It's actually been the opposite. We didn't write the law. We just enforced it. But as I said then, and I believe it now, I had never in my career seen a law that was passed that violated our constitutional rights as much as that gun ban did. So we're going to continue to kind of monitor the situation. I knew the Safety Act, probably the Illinois Supreme Court, was where that was going to end. And I said, that's the law of the land. I do not like it, but that's the law of the land. But again, this one was such a violation of our constitutional rights that I anticipate this getting to the U.S. Supreme Court. And then once they rule, that will be the law of the land, in my opinion, and we'll do whatever they say.
Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell, greatly appreciate your time. Always good seeing you. And be safe out there, and make sure your guys and gals are safe as well, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Keep us in your prayers.
It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and